Good evening, and welcome to another scene in Edessa, the Dark Crusade, Season 2. Tonight, we find ourselves at Lord Gerard's manor. He has invited a certain mortal enemy, Lasombra, to. Hang on a sec. Well, apologies. There is a cat missing. Anyway, we are at Gerard's manor, and he has invited a Lasombra to discuss a very important matter. And Aldrich, apparently, as well. I'm not sure if he's here or not beforehand.
He can be here.
Okay, well, then Aldrich is already present, and Gerard will be standing in the um, grand foyer of his manor, awaiting the guest, because while there is plenty of help for that sort of thing, he doesn't want her lingering too long, seeing too many things, as you do. But it is magnificently appointed, very wealthy, befitting a man his status, um, in a very French aesthetic.
Well, Irene will definitely arrive at the appointed time. She would have brought, well, probably two guards that she would leave at the gate. She would not try to force her guards onto a Ventru, especially not an Ancilla, especially not someone of Gerard's standing. And yeah, she'll go through the normal hoops and scoops to get inside.
Yeah, the doors are pulled open by servants, and light sort of spills out into the darkness, illuminating the guest. And she'll see, like, standing on a red carpet, kind of running up the center of the foyer, a magnificently armored individual, and Aldrich.
Hi.
Well, Irene will walk up to both of them and will curtsy to both of them equally polite, as she is wont to do.
Roll initiative.
Okay.
The trap has been sprung.
That would be totally fair.
Yeah.
Gerard doesn't give much more than a very, very slight nod of the head in acknowledgement. He's not sure what form of nobility she is, but she's certainly not on his level as an Ancilla, so.
Aldrich extends every dot of his etiquette for a very polite gesture of bow. So good to see you, Lady Irene.
It's indeed very good to see you, Lord Aldrich. Blah, blah, blah. Irene can talk. Her player cannot. And she'll look over at Gerard. Thank you for your invitation, Lord Gerard.
You're welcome. Although, I admit, I have only invited you as there's business that needs to be discussed.
Of course. Then let us discuss business.
He turns and begins walking with his hands clasped behind his back up the um, up the carpet towards some stairs. And yes, Gerard is well aware that Irene is basically counted as an ancilla since her daddy is a prince, but Gerard doesn't like her daddy, so
Which is totally legit.
you can take the clanimity away from a player, from a character, but you can't take it away
Take
from
it
a
away from
player.
player. No, this is completely fair. Like, I mean, didn't expect this to be a jolly good time, but yeah, she'll follow Gerard.
So he will sort of lead them up the stairs and through a pair of double doors, which opens up into a large dining area. And um, he steps inside, and the servants will close the doors after Irene and Aldrich enter. And he'll sort of move to take a seat at the head of the table and will kind of knit his fingers together in his lap and await them to have a seat as well.
Well, Irene will make sure to go sit last, since even though she's practically counted as an ancilla, she isn't. So she
Uh,
knows her place.
Aldrich will then pick the seat directly to Gerard's right.
Irene will sit on the left side then.
So, Lady Irene, I have heard it from several sources that you are intimately familiar with this hunter epidemic that plagues us.
I would not necessarily call it intimately, but I do have some knowledge that it is highly likely others do not have this information.
It has been put before me by the proceedings of the court at Timuron and now the Prince of Edessa to handle this issue in a very succinct fashion. So I need any information that you can give me.
I am not a tactician, Lord Gerard. What kind of information do you require?
Anything, everything, everything that you know.
All right.
He looks at Aldrich as though a pen and paper is magically formed in front of him.
I know that their main forces are in the town of Erela, but it is highly likely that they also have hideaways in the city itself. I suspect at least one of them being near Abraham's Fountain. I know that the town of Erla has a church bell that rings when we approach. They are being led by a figure calling himself the Martyr, although he does not claim to hold any leadership. All of the people gathered in Erla hold, in some way or form, a grudge against our kind. Usually, a family member has been well, destroyed by our kind.
So you're saying that everyone in Erla is a hunter or a collaborator?
Yes. I know some of them, but not all of them, have been and most likely are still drinking from our blood and therefore have powers that exceed normal mortals. Their leader thinks he is basically a messenger of God and considers all of us evil. Although, when in discussion, he he did not necessarily seem to think so of me. I know he has a certain power that makes not all of us, well, that makes all of us uneasy and some of us to the point of feeling extremely ill when they are near him. Mm, I think that is everything that I know when it comes to the tacticals, unless I'm forgetting something that you might require.
Again, don't think of it tactically, just in a more general sense.
Mm, he could be persuaded into releasing one of the prisoners, one of our kind. But it took a pretty long conversation and a probably strange gesture from my part to get him to do so. He was not necessarily without reason. Um, but I think he seems to think that he cannot persuade his entire group to think the way he does. A lot of them are simply out for revenge no matter what.
How many would you estimate reside in Erla?
I would have to poke Chris about that. So I don't believe he mentioned any numbers except a lot during the scene.
It's fine. Just a rough estimate. Doesn't matter.
It is the size of a small army.
Hmm.
Just, I'll. She names a rough number, and I'll get back to you on that one. Chris
Mhm.
pokes me.
And you made it abundantly clear that you don't think that my plan is going to work. You think that this man is a cult of personality.
They are out on revenge, and they made it clear that part of this revenge is because we always find a way to put mortals in front of our own problems. Now, I'm not entirely sure how many of them have drank from our blood, how many of them have gained special powers because of that. But one of our first, and this was just our coterie at that point, one of our first confrontations with the hunters was between Gufran and three of them, and he barely made it out alive. So I am not quite sure how many mortals you would need to throw at a situation like Erela. And given the fact that the city is weakened by the plague, I'm not quite sure if we have, or if you have, the required amount of people. Besides the fact that, in all honesty, I find it rather repulsive to murder a large group of humans like that, sending them into their death. But I understand that that is the way you wish to do things, and you are the one in command, so there is not much I can do against that.
I'm curious then, what alternative would you use that does not involve the murder of many humans?
I would try to set the hunters against another supernatural entity, something that is more powerful than us, something that we have problems with. See how many of them would make it out of there, and from there on, work further.
What sort of entity do you speak of?
Demons.
Where would you find these demons?
Well, that's a good question.
And how would you convince them of the threat of demons?
I have previously tried to convince the smarter of the fact that we fight bigger threats than just us. His reply was one that he gave several times during our conversation, that even if he was willing to listen, the rest of the group was not. But I have my doubts about that. I think he could persuade them. Also, he has given me a certain item that he claims I could use to call for their aid.
And so what then? You go and find a demon and then call them.
Potentially.
As far as I know, Margot has been cleansed of her demon, and Johanna has taken hers with her. What other demons would we find?
Irene will actually look at Aldrich. As far as I know, Johanna's demon has not left with her.
Gerard looks to Aldrich.
Indeed, you are correct.
So let's assume for a moment that we are able to track down this demon bring the hunters to come kill it. What do you think the best case scenario would be?
The best case scenario would be that their forces will be considerably weakened and we have a demon less.
But what if that doesn't happen? Let's say that they slay the demon with minimal losses.
Then we are still one demon short. Without having to risk our own community.
But this is all predicated on the fact that you would be the one to bring them to the demon. Are you really going to put this martyr on the spot and see if in front of all of his cohorts he spares you?
He has done so before.
In front of all of his cohorts? Or, let's take it the other way. Maybe the demon wipes out all of the hunters. Would you not consider that a threat that would be very difficult for us to handle and might, in fact, be very irked that we would have the gall to upset him thusly?
True, but it would solve our hunter problem. And if this demon is that powerful, then at least we would know more about him. I'm not an expert on either tactics or demons. So I am merely...
Speculate.
Yes.
Well, I have an idea. Then, I will go about making my preparations. And within the month, I will do what it is that I've set out to do. If you wish, you can attempt to avoid this slaughter and follow your heart on this issue with demons and hunters. If you want. I would not blame you if you did.
So I would advise caution, Lady Irene. You have a tail.
A tail.
A tail.
Indeed. Keeping a weathered eye on one hunter in particular, while out of character, his specific identity escapes me at the moment. While his exploits have been rather, what's the word? Expensive. This individual has spent quite a bit of time behind the walls of Edessa, specifically paroling along Riverside, the slum area. He hasn't specifically been following you. He's delegated someone else, for that matter. To that, I have not been able to follow. However, there's reason for this. It is your association with a fellow neonate by the name of Garland. Are you familiar?
The Brutus spy.
He's a spy.
That's what he called himself when I first met him. A spy for his sire.
Aldrich just kind of stares for a moment.
She gives kind of a blank stare, like, yeah, really.
To which he'll say, yes. The individual I've been keeping a weathered eye on has been following him, and as such, anyone he associates with,
Hmm.
delegates have been sent to follow them. Recently, I have met one such Cainite that has been followed by such a delegate that I now know his name is Memnon.
One of my clanmates.
And another of your clanmates beyond him, Lady Madeline.
I see. We are quite popular nowadays.
Again, it's quite clearly is pointed at the association with Garland, as he is being closely followed by one such individual.
Interesting.
Well, it would seem that there is a new sense of urgency on this whole affair.
Hmm.
Bear in mind, this information coming to pass is quite recent. It has not been withheld.
No, I understand.
If you find this demon and are able to have the hunters exterminated, I will ensure that there are men ready to put down this unruly mob in the city, whoever's left. It is our duty, after all, to keep order in the wake of such tragedy. Can't have armed men roaming around the streets. All very convenient.
I agree.
So I must know, is this a path you are willing to follow, or are you going to leave it to me?
It is a path that I am willing to follow, yet I am not sure if I am possible to follow.
What do you mean?
As said, I have barely any knowledge regarding demons or how they operate.
Since when has that ever stopped you?
Since when are you so interested about my endeavors?
I can't help but be smacked by them every time I look outside.
She'll kind of look at the window. I see.
The windows are closed.
Well, I apologize for that, Lord Gerard. I did not know that they caused so much trouble for you.
Trouble is a matter of perspective.
Many things are.
So, what
If
is
I
my
fail to
perspective?
make any progress in 2 weeks, I will let you know.
Very well then. I will begin making preparations. In the meantime, I wish you luck.
And to you.
I'm certain Aldrich will be willing to help you. He's been interested in all manner of occult things lately regarding
Yes,
demons.
albeit my research is limited as it is a subject that is very cautiously delved into. What little I know is the banishment of lesser demons. And even to that, there is only so much.
Well, perhaps we can combine some of our information and see if we can get something useful out of it.
I do recommend haste. They appear to be making moves, these hunters. If
I'm
you are
not
truly,
surprised.
if you are truly being followed, then perhaps now even I am in danger. Now that you have come here.
I agree, and I apologize. Had I been aware of the situation beforehand, I would, of course, not have come here. Lord Aldrich, do you happen to know why they are following Sir Garland?
He was seen committing an act of atrocity.
Of course.
I take it you've known of this atrocity as well.
I have not. But our master spy has a way of spying in clear daylight. As in, I've not found him to be very secretive.
It would appear not.
Which is unusual behavior for a spy, but, well, who am I to judge someone's methods?
In any case, the damage has been done. Moving forward,
Is it always the same individual following me?
I cannot say, as I've not followed such an individual. Only the one on Garland.
Fair enough. I'll see what I can do to stop this tale.
No, Aldrich will not.
Well then, you know what you must do.
If that is all, gentlemen, then I will take my leave.
Do be careful out there.
As much as I can. Yeah, Irene will rise and curtsy again and leave the room and also the building.
Once Irene is exited, Aldrich will turn to look at Lord Gerard and say, "Perhaps it's of little interest to you, but it's worth note. This atrocity that Garland has committed is a potential breach of the silence. It may require specific attention,
My specific attention?
or perhaps mine.
What sort of breach are we talking about?
A rather large hole in the ground with a great many bodies in it.
Where
The
at?
like, and he will state location. Player doesn't know the exact spot, but Aldrich would.
I'll look into it.
Should you need me, I am but a moment away.
As always.
Decide. I believe that is all I have at the moment.
Thank you for your help, Aldrich.
As always, my lord.
And Gerard will dismiss Aldrich.
Mm-hmm. He will get up, push his chair back in, and leave.
Leaving Gerard looking very pensive in his seat at the head of the table.
And with that, I think we can end the scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we'll see you again in Edessa, the Dark Crusade.